Welcome back to another tutorial for Introduction to Solid Modeling. This video I'm going to talk about some of the tools that Solidworks has to make multiple instances of features, whether that be, kind of a uniform pattern or maybe just a random placing or even potentially like a circular pattern. So first one I'm going to cover is what's called a linear pattern. So let's say I wanted to have a pattern of this hole where the first one is in this corner, but there's 3 rows of 3. So under the Features tab, I would click on Linear Pattern, and you're prompted with Direction 1, Direction 2. So for Direction 1, I can select this edge, and you can see this gray arrow. This is the direction that this pattern is going to be. It doesn't always point the direction you want it to from the start, so you may have to use this button here, and when you toggle it, it flips the direction. So let's say I want that spacing, which this is the spacing between each instance of the feature. So let's say I want it to be 3 inches, and I want 3 instances. This includes the original, so it will add 2 more holes to make 3 total. And then for direction 2, I can just select this other edge, and you can see the arrows pointing down. That's the direction I want, so I'm not going to change it. And we'll make this one 2 inches. And we have our number of instances set to 3, which is what I said I wanted to do. We're going to do, 3 columns of 3 holes. And then in this Features and Faces box, similar to if we were going to do a mirror or pretty much any of these patterns, I can select the feature from the tree. And then you see the preview of these pop up, but once I hit the check mark, it will add all of these cuts. If I rotate a little bit, you'll be able to see. So a linear pattern allows you to do maybe some type of a uniform pattern, but let's say, for example, I needed a hole in this corner, and I'll just roll this back so it's not distracting. Let's say I needed a hole here, but I also needed 3 other holes that, they're not completely random, obviously, but they're not really easily accomplished using a linear pattern. I can use what's called a sketch-driven pattern. So the first thing I'll need to do is create the feature that we're going to pattern, which I've already done. Second thing I need to do is create a sketch to define the positions of the other holes. So I do that by sketching these points, and if I just add these points to a few places on the part, it will allow me to put this feature wherever I add these holes or these points. So, and I'm going to leave these undefined for now just for the sake of time, but you would be able to use Smart Dimension and dimension these off of whatever edge or whatever feature is required. So if I save and exit from this sketch, I can go to the drop down on the Linear Pattern tab or button, select this sketch driven pattern. Under selections, I can select sketch 3, and then for my features I can select the cut extrude, and when I hit the check mark, you can see that it now is going to make a cutout at each of those points. Another type of pattern we can use to create multiple instances when we have a circular path or a circular pattern is, the feature it's actually called circular pattern, strangely enough. So if I select circular pattern, and I've already created the feature that we're going to pattern, but it works very similarly to a linear pattern where I'm going to select the direction, in this case the edge of my part, and then I can change this angle of separation, and I'll use 45 just as an example, and I'll start with 6 instances just so you'll be able to see where they stop. And then Features and Faces, same as it was prior, just select Cut Extrude. You can see we now have 6 instances, and if I wanted to complete the circle, I would just increase this number until we have each of those instances populated. And once I hit the check mark, we have now patterned this instance every 45 degrees around the direction of this part. So those are the three, I'd say, main patterns that you'll use to put multiple instances of a feature that you've created on different areas of a part. And this is a whole lot faster than if I were to sketch all of these different holes individually, or even to make even worse would be to make 8 different extrude cuts on this part. Solidworks is pretty good about letting you be efficient when you have patterns like this. So that's going to wrap up this one. Thanks.